welcome to the Other 90 by FUTXPERFORM, the show that explores everything that happens in football beyond the 90 minutes on the pitch. Today, we're joined by Anast. Originally from Cyprus, he's played in the youth national teams and in the pro levels there. He's currently in Australia. In this conversation, we're going to be talking about the highs, the lows, and everything in between, and what it really takes to get to the pro level. Anast, thanks for joining us, man.
Thank you for having me, first of all. And it's a pleasure for me to be here. And yeah.
Absolutely, man. So, Anast, we go a little bit back. We've played together, obviously, and we've got a little bit of a history. But I guess for the viewers out there, I'd love to know, take us through a little bit about your footballing journey, man. Where'd you sort of start and how'd you sort of get to where you are at the moment?
So I started my career in Cyprus when I was playing for Apol FC, Apol Nicosia. At 13, I moved to London, where I got scouted by Tottenham, and I went there on trials, where I ended up signing after a year. After a long trial with Tottenham, it was unsuccessful. Then I signed with QPR for a year. And then I had a scholarship with Shrewsbury Town in League One. And then COVID came through. As we all know, COVID was a harsh time. Then went back to Cyprus, played men's football there for the last 4 years. And now I'm currently in Australia. And that's a shortcut version of my career until now.
Yeah, beautiful, man. And obviously we played together in Cyprus. So obviously we've got a bit of history there already. I'm very familiar with sort of the setup. Take me through, Anas. What's it like, the football in Cyprus, particularly when you're coming through the youth system? What was that like?
Okay, the youth system with the men's side of the game in Cyprus is very different. I experienced both. I was in one of the best academies, if not the best, in Cyprus, which was it was a privilege. Like, we had the best of coaches growing up in Cyprus, but still the quality was decent, but not the best. The problem is in Cyprus, they don't really push the youth within the men's team. They don't really give them a priority. They prioritize foreign players, more experienced players. And when it comes to the men's side of the game, as we all know, Cyprus is one of the most foreign leagues in the world. It has its ups and downs, often on the pitch, but overall it was a good experience, and I also learned a lot from it, both on and off the pitch.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I guess just out of personal interest, when you see a lot of youth football, right? I myself grew up and played football here in Australia. Is the youth football isn't so intense, right? But the other side of me is Portuguese, and you go there and it's sort of like this massive culture. What's the youth system like, and what's the culture like around football in Cyprus?
So youth football in Cyprus is very competitive. From a young age, they teach you how to win games. I would say from a young age, when I was at Apoel, we're doing a lot of tactics. So I was maybe 10 or 11 years old, and we had 11, 12 different patterns of play, which this gave me a lot of structure. While now I'm playing men's football, it's like a second nature for me, being able to stand in the right places, position myself on the right areas on the pitch. And also it's a very technical, like, as a country, we focus a lot on technique as well. Whereas when I went to England, it was mostly based on individual work, like dribbling, the running side of the game, the physical side of the game. It was less focused on the tactics, which it was best of both worlds for me, because I learned both sides of the game from a very young age. So yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. And Anas, what do you think the impact of it? You talked me through it, being at Upwell, and how it's sort of very intense. You know, it's not just you're 10 and you're 11 and you're playing for fun, but you're actually going through patterns of play and tactics. What do you think the effect that is, what does that have on players when they get to the ages of, 15, 16, 17? Do you think that it correlates into them going on to be better players? Do you think that it's too restrictive? What's your thoughts on that?
I do think nowadays, for you to play in the men's game, you need to have some sort of structure. If you're just a player that runs everywhere, a coach would definitely not like it. Even if you're a winger with the most skills, at the end of the day, the coach is going to tell you what he wants from you. And if you can't execute that plan, you're going to end up being out of the squad. So one thing I would say 100% is that it did help me. Maybe it did restrict me a bit in terms of expressing myself a lot more, but it did give me that structure which I would need in the later on game, which was now. So I would say it was positive. It was very positive.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And then obviously from, going from Applewell, and you're sort of in those big academies, you make the jump over to England. You're at trial at Tottenham Hotspurs, right? A massive club in Europe. Talk me through sort of how that came about and what that experience was like.
Okay. So at 13, I moved to England, and I was just playing within a private academy, and a few weeks in, I got scouted by Norwich, actually. And while I was at Norwich, Tottenham came through, and who says no to Tottenham? So I went straight to Tottenham. I was there for the whole pre-season in Tottenham. It was an amazing experience. I had Noni Madueke in the squad with me. He plays for Arsenal now. Oliver Skip. There was a lot of good players there. The quality was very high. Every 1-2 weeks, there's a new trialist. There's a lot of competition. It was very good. It was a very good experience, and it definitely taught me a lot as a player. But yeah, the facilities were crazy. Yeah, just
Absolutely,
amazing.
man. And
Amazing.
yeah, bro,
Yeah.
of course. And take me through, obviously you go there and you're in a top tier environment, right? How does it feel and how did you sort of take the news when you sort of learned that it wasn't going to work out and that you sort of had to find a different option?
To be fair, I've always been the type of person which always looks at the positive in every situation. Of course, it wasn't the news I wanted to hear, but I knew my worth and I knew I was going to get something else somewhere else. There was only positives to take out of that place. It was in a way one of my first few tastes of English football, and yeah, I just dealt with it very well. I had a good family around me, like my parents were supporting the whole way. It was harsh, but at the same time it was easy. Yeah.
No, it's good, man. And you're at that age where you've still got everything ahead of you. And I also think that getting exposure and maybe being told no at a young age, it sort of toughens you up a little bit because when you step into men's football, as you'd see, it's a little bit more ruthless, right?
Of course, of course. I got quite a few no's, if I'm being honest. I went to quite a few clubs. I've had a few trials, but it's part of the game. It's part of the game.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And so you go through a period where, you know, there's a lot of unknowns, you get a lot of no's. Then you get the international call up for the youth team of Cyprus, right?
Yeah.
Probably every kid's dream growing up, being in the national team, probably something that they think is unattainable. Talk to me through that. What's the call up like and what's your reaction?
So it was while I was at Shrewsbury Town. I got a text message from the coach and he just wanted me to come in for a week. It was the under-19s of the Cypriot national team. It was before the European qualifiers. And yeah, it was a very good feeling. It was a proud moment to come back home, see my friends as well, see my family, and represent the country.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Like I mentioned, probably every kid's dream. Now, you go into the youth national team. Obviously, you have your stint there and you sort of decide to come back to Cyprus. You step into men's football, Anast. I guess one of the big questions and probably what a lot of players don't realize is the difference between, you know, academy football and men's football. I'd love to get sort of your insight as to what you feel like the biggest jump was for you. What did you feel like was a big change and what did you feel like was not a change at all?
So the number one thing I would say is that the men's game is a very cutthroat business where no one cares about like you as a person. All they care about is about you performing. At the end of the day, players are going to be there to support you, but at the same time, in a way, they're your rivals because you're fighting for those spots. And yeah, it's just a way more physical game. There's not much time there's no excuses. You have to perform and everyone's getting paid to get the job done. So yeah.
Absolutely, man. And I think that the first part of what you said, you know, you're playing for results. No one cares about you or your development anymore. I know we've been in a similar situation where, you know, you're in a team that is desperate for results. What's it like when you come from academy football and then you start playing in these teams where, you know, there's a lot more to it and there's a lot more on the line? How do you sort of adapt to that?
You just need to zone out all the noise, what I would say, and just focus on what's going to get you those 3 points. And most time is what the coach says. Is what I said before regarding the academy section when I was in Cyprus, is that they gave us structure. And that's one of the things that helped me a lot in the men's game, is that it helped me adjust to every single thing that the coach told me and I would get that done. So one thing I would say is that you have to be a lot more straight to the point and there's no time for you to do you as a person. You just need to do what the team wants and that's it.
Yeah, absolutely, Anas. And I think as a young player, it's probably one of the things that is so misinterpreted. Anas, talk to me, when you make that jump, do you think it's more an adaptation physically or technically, or do you think the mental side takes a bigger toll on you?
I think both. One is definitely the physical side. If you can't adapt to the physical game of the men's side, then definitely you're gonna have issues because you're gonna be losing the ball, or fitness might be an issue. But at the same time, if you do have the physical side but you don't have the mental side, then you're not gonna last. You're gonna get on that pitch 1, 2, 3, 4 times and then you're out. So one thing I would say, you need both. You definitely need to be physically ready, fit, and know your abilities, know your strengths, know your weaknesses. Don't show your weaknesses basically. And at the same time, the mental side is a huge thing because coming in as a young boy in the men's game, you're not gonna be the privileged one. You're not gonna be the first choice. So you always need to be ready. You always need to do your extras. You always need to do everything. So when those 5, 10, 15 minutes come in, you're given that spark, and that's what's gonna give you the momentum to play more and more.
It's beautiful, man. And with that, Anas, obviously it's a very logical approach. Everything makes sense as it is, but you know football yourself. There's a lot of ups and downs in between that. And I guess the question I have is, with those downs, what are some of those down periods that you've had and how do you sort of try to handle them as best as you can?
So the first time I went to Cyprus, I came on if I'm not mistaken, in the first 4 or 5 games, I came on 2, 3 times. But then the team The team lost in my last appearance where I came on, and for some reason the coach didn't play me for a good 5, 6, 7 games back to back for like let's say 2, 3 months. And what I just kept doing, I just kept doing extras. I kept my head down, worked in training, done my extras in the gym, stayed longer after the training. Yeah, I just kept my head down and kept working. And so when the time came again and I went on, I showed why I should be playing, and that's what gained me again the position to play more and more. And that's one thing I would tell to players, like, just keep your head down. Even if you're 22, 23, 24, you're still young. There's still more years to the game. So just be positive and just try and make the most out of it. Don't think too much. You can control what you can control, and that's by you training more, eating healthy, sleeping well, and that's literally it.
Great advice, man. Absolutely. And Anas, I guess we'll move on to sort of your current journey at the moment. You sort of talk me through, you sort of decided that, you know, Cyprus was sort of a wrap for the time being, and you were looking at some other options. Obviously, you had a little bit of a stint over in the UK sort of as a break, and then this Australia move came about. Talk to me a little bit about how it sort of came about, I guess.
So first of all, I want to thank Jaden from FUTXPERFORM for this move. If it wasn't
Not a paid sponsorship, by the way.
If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be here, I'll be honest. So it was around the summertime. If I'm not mistaken, Jaden did come to London. We met up in London, and I told Jaden, I'm interested if something comes up in Australia. And you just told me, don't worry, something will come through. Just send me your details. Expect a message from me in September, October, and we're going to get something going. So everything started from there, from a little coffee in central London at London Bridge. And yeah, when you messaged me, you told me that Adelaide Cobras was interested. And then I searched up. They had my background. They're a Cypriot-owned club, which made it even more special for me. I was like, it's a no-brainer. It's Australia. I've never been to Australia. It's another way of me moving around and exploring different countries. It's definitely far away from home, but until now, I only have positive things to say about the people at the club, about FUTXPERFORM, the way they dealt with everything. Everything was clean, straightforward, no surprises, which is the way I liked it. And yeah, now we're here. We're in the semi-final in the cup with Adelaide Cobras. Hopefully we win. If we win, we get ourselves a position in the National Cup of Australia, which is huge.
Yeah, in the last 32.
And yeah, that's it for now. Of course, we started very well. League, 4 back-to-back wins.
And Anas, when we were in London, I still remember sitting at the table having that coffee. I know what I told you. Did you think there was a possibility of it coming through, or did you think it was sort of something we just threw up in the air?
Because I know you personally, and I've lived and played with you, and I know your personality. I knew something was going to come through, because you're very much of a person that tells me if it's something, you'll say it. If it's not something, you'll say it. Like, you won't give me surprises. So when you did tell me, like, we can sort out with something with Australia, something good, I believed in it, and it was just a matter of time for something to come through. It came quick. The offer came quick. Spoke to the coach, spoke to the president of the club, had my conversations with you throughout the whole time, and everything was very smooth. And yeah, it was good. It was good.
Yeah, beautiful, man. And I guess that'll be something that we come to, and we'll ask more about your experience in there. But I think before we jump onto it, I want to ask you, Anas, having gone through the process and, you know, in different countries as well, I guess a common question that we get asked and that I love to ask you as well is, how important do you think contacts and connections are in football? What's your sort of experience with them?
I believe connections is maybe, if not as equally as important as being good on the pitch, I believe. Because connections is what's going to open your doors. And if you're good enough, you're going to prove it on the pitch. If you're good enough and you ain't got connections, then you can't prove it on the pitch. It's simple as. The game nowadays is about who you know, but at the same time, you have to be good. So I would say it's equally as important as being good.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Absolutely. It doesn't replace talent. That's a given. But I think having that sort of connection is what opens doors. And as you've been through that process, like myself, like thousands of players watching this as well, you know, the cold outreach and trying to connect with coaches on LinkedIn and doing all of those, you know, fun things, like we say. What's sort of your experience in sort of doing those processes, and what did it make you realize?
I'll be honest, I've done it when I left Shrewsbury. When COVID came through and I had no club, I did try calling clubs in Scotland, like LinkedIn. I tried everything. Yeah, it wasn't. I think seeing it back now, it was good I tried, because it showed my attitude towards wanting to make it, but it was a complete waste of time, if I'm being honest. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, Anas. And I was actually speaking to a player exactly about this the other day. He was asking me in terms of the difference between contacts and connections. And I think you sort of summed it up perfectly there. And, you know, having a contact, having an email or having a LinkedIn connection, it does help. It gives you the outreach, but it doesn't move the needle at the end of the day when it comes to sort of opportunities. One sec. And us before, when I asked you the question about sort of contacts that you have and how important they are, you sort of corrected me and you went straight to connections. I guess what's sort of the biggest difference between contacts versus connections?
Yeah. So contacts is having the number, having the email, having the way to reach out to them. But actually the connections is when the other person has leverage or knows where you can bring to the table. And at the end of the day, it's a business. And by having a good connection with someone is what's going to give you the heads up to move a player to a club or to make the move actually happen. Whereas, yeah, that's the difference, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah, perfect, man. And I guess that's obviously what we do here at FUTXPERFORM. Having those right connections, being able to open the doors. I remember when we had the chat in London, Anast, and we started to do a little bit of work on you. I think the thing from my end and what really opened doors is the background that you've had behind you, right? And I think a lot of players, and the mistake that they make is they'll try and go from these unproven environments and they'll try and jump straight into areas where people don't know them and they don't have enough, rapport. I think with you, Anas, you've done this strategically in terms of you've had the backing and you've had the experience to make your profile attractive. When the offer came, it was a very easy process. And I think yourself, it was a very good deal that you ended up getting out of it. I think having those sort of things helped massively. What I would say is, what sort of advice, Anas, would you give to players looking to make that jump, be it in Australia or be it in Europe or wherever it is in the world? What's the one piece of advice you would give them?
Do not think about the money. Don't think about the money. Don't think about the level as much. Think about, are you going to be one of the main players? That's literally it. The more you're on the pitch, the more you can prove yourself, the more highlights you can get. Yeah.
Yeah. And why is being the main player important, do you think?
Because you get great stats, prove yourself on the pitch, people watch, and there's only positives that can come out of it. And literally being on the pitch is like being a student and doing exams. You get examined on how good you are. And that's literally it. If you're not playing, you can't show how good you are. So you're not proven. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess, Anas, I do want to move over to, you've made the move, you're in Australia currently, and something that you said a little bit earlier before sort of stuck with me in terms of, it's not close to home and, the hours are very different and there is a lot to sort of wrap your head around. What was that sort of transition like? And what do you think was, the thing you struggled with the most in making such a big move?
Australia is very far away from Cyprus. The hour difference is crazy. At one point, it was 8.5 hour difference. So me waking up around, let's say 8 a.m., it was midnight for my parents and my family. So I couldn't really contact anyone until 4 or 5 p.m. in Australia. And that was something really tough. So yeah, I would say the hour difference is something which really struck me hard the first few months.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And so how do you sort of think you sort of overcome that? And, now being there, what's it sort of like? Have you settled in?
Of course, I've made a few friends there. I have good teammates, keep myself busy. And yeah, I'm made into a more normal cycle now. I know when I'm going to speak to my parents. I know what to do throughout the day. I go work out every day. I use my time wisely. And yeah, I'm quite settled in now.
Yeah. And Anas, on that, I guess that's one of the sacrifices sort of involved in this whole journey, would you say, of your sort of footballing career? What are some of those sacrifices that you've had to sort of go through that, some people would sort of underestimate or wouldn't think until they actually have to make those?
So leaving the age of 13, leaving all my friends behind, starting a whole new chapter at the age of 13 was very tough. And I've only understood how tough it was over the last 2 years. When I went last year back to London and I went back, even though I have now my friendship circles, I have a big circle now in London, I've realized how tough it was when I was 13. All those first few years, having to make new friendships, having to try different things, meet different people. It was very tough. So I would say that's something a lot of people underestimate. They think it's all fun, but it's actually lonely. It's actually a lonely ride, but it was worth it. It was worth it. It made me who I am today, build principles, build my character. And yeah, that's why right now the no's for me, it's another way of me learning. It's not really a no. I don't take no as an answer anymore. And I just improve until I get the yes. And that's just literally the mentality I've built over all these obstacles. So yeah.
Yeah, beautiful, man. And with players looking to sort of make the jump abroad, what do you think is sort of the biggest mistake players make when they're trying to get that move abroad?
Would say trying to jump too high for what they're capable of at that certain situation, that certain time. Sometimes it's not about how good you are. Sometimes it's about your background. A lot of coaches look at your CV, unfortunately. So you have to play with your cards. The other thing I would say is adjusting to the playing style, adjusting to the country, to the time zones. Like, for example, if you're a person that really loves the sun and the weather, like London is not the place for you, for example. If you're a person that likes the cold weather, Spain is not the country for you. If you're a person that loves tiki-taka, maybe England wouldn't be for you. So you just need to look at all the playing styles, the country itself, the culture, and just play along with everything, because everything plays a role in how you perform at the end of the day. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely it does, man. I guess, Anas, what would you say to players who are sort of waiting for the right opportunity? Obviously, we've got the summer window coming up and there's sort of a lot of different things that will pop up. But how did you sort of distinguish between, what opportunities are available and what one actually makes sense to take?
So it all depends on your situation, on how you finished off the year. One thing I would say is someone that comes early to you is definitely someone that wants you a lot more, always. One thing I always say is never close doors on people. For sure, know your worth, but be realistic with where you've played and what jumps you can make. Like, don't expect playing in step 5 England and then trying to get a move to first division in Cyprus, let's say. That wouldn't happen. So be realistic with your step ups, and like I said before, just look for a place where you'll be valued. There's no point of going to the gold if they're going to treat you like bronze. So go somewhere where you're valued as gold. Literally, because that will give you just more freedom to play better for the season, so you can step up again more and more. So answering that question is whoever shows the most interest, like not just in words, but also in the contract, in all ways, go there. Don't think about the money too much. Don't think about anything. Just value everything. That's what I would say.
Yeah. Beautiful, man. And I guess as we start to come to the end and we start to wrap things up, Anas, I guess a question I'd love to ask you, because, every teenager sort of has this goal and then you sort of go through your footballing career and that opinion changes. But what does the term making it mean in football now versus, when you were 18, for example?
When I was 18, the term making it was playing in the Champions League, 100%. That was the term making it. Whereas now looking back, I feel like I've made it because I'm doing something I love and I can live off from something I love, and I get to actually travel the world. Like, I'm a boy from Cyprus that moved to London because of football, and now I'm living in Australia, other side of the world. So right now I would say like the Champions League dream is still there. I still want to play in the Champions League. Of course, it's tough, but still there. But I would say I'm very satisfied with where I'm at right now and what I'm doing. It's definitely a kid's dream to do what I'm doing now, and I feel very grateful about it. So I'm trying to enjoy every single moment of this career. So yeah.
Absolutely, man. And if you could turn back the clock and tell young Anas, let's say a 17, 18-year-old version of Anas, what would you say you'd tell him? What would he need to hear?
Keep your head down, keep working. Keep your head down, keep working. I would tell him be positive, show no weakness, and yeah, time will tell. Control the controllables. That's what I would say. Because one thing that a lot of kids do, I've done it as well, I think every kid done it, is they were trying to control what they couldn't control. And that was the worst thing. Because it's what gets your confidence down. It ruins a lot of your time. It wastes a lot of your time. So control what you can control. That's what I would tell him. Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. And I guess that's sort of feedback that the audience would definitely take if they're young players. And I guess that sort of brings us to a wrap, man. It's been an absolute pleasure listening to everything football in your career, the ups, the downs, and everything in between. You've got obviously a cup final coming up, and if you qualify, you'll be in the national stages. You'll be playing against the top teams there in Australia. Before we wrap up, how's that sort of feeling, and what's the sort of approach to the match?
Good. The semi-finals in 2 weeks, so it's going to be interesting. We're 90 minutes away from a very big target, which should be accomplished. We're all the way there. We need to accomplish it. It'll be huge, and we're going for the win. Literally nothing else, just the win. Yeah.
Beautiful, man. Good stuff. Anas, it's been an absolute pleasure to everyone watching as well. I hope you have taken something of value from Anas's journey. Anas, best of luck to you, man. It's been a pleasure, and I look forward to hearing about a win in a couple of weeks' time.
Thank you for having me, and to everyone listening to this podcast, big up FUTXPERFORM. What they say is what they do, and yeah, that's all I can say.
You're a good man. All right, Anas, we'll catch you in a bit, man. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.